Now that we've discussed Module 6, which is the Top Producer Blueprinting Training Manual, and how to simplify that process so you don't feel like a fish out of water, or you don't feel like you have a contention with the prospect right out of the gate, which is a very uncomfortable feeling for both parties, let's talk about how to transition the call to getting the financial profile or the application, because that really is the next step to where you need to get the client to. So at this point, you found out what makes the client tick, and hopefully you've pulled up the calculator and been able to determine if their payment that they have told you that they can afford is going to work for our program. So after you've done that, what do you do next? Well, the best thing to do at this juncture, you did promise to answer their questions. So what you want to do, instead of opening up the floor for them to ask their questions, go ahead and give them a brief commercial and tell them about what we do, why is it potentially the best choice, and head off their objections before they can ask them. You know they're probably going to ask about credit, you know they're probably going to ask about creditor calls, and you know they're going to ask about fees to do the program. So if you can build those into your commercial that you're talking to people about, you're going to go ahead and satisfy some of the concerns they have without them having to get all uptight about, oh gosh, I've got to ask these questions, I hope they don't get upset. So give them that brief commercial, and at that juncture, you want to transition into the financial profile. And the smoothest way to do that is to let them know what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take a financial profile so we can determine your eligibility for this program. Remember, there are eligibility requirements. Their credit has to be the right type of debt, has to be the right kind of debt. It has to be the right amount. Payment has to fit in the box, and they have to have a hardship. They've got to be in a situation where they can't afford to pay their creditors anymore. So getting to the financial profile shouldn't be, I need to take an application. Is it okay if I do that? Chances are they're going to tell you no, it's not okay. Let's call back later tonight and do that. You need to be the leader. These people called you because they need a solution and they don't have the answers, or they would have already solved the problem. So you need to be the one that really takes control and says, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and complete a financial profile. It'll only take a couple minutes. That way I can determine your eligibility and roll right into your application. If they can't do it right now, believe me, they'll tell you. But more times than not, they're going to follow your lead. It's all about the confidence in which you do that. Also, you want to make sure that after you get that financial profile, you're setting yourself up to win. One thing I can tell you is that generally with these calls, you want to make sure you get back to the client as quickly as possible. After you get done talking with them, they're going to feel confident that this is the right decision for them. But as time moves on, 24 hours down the road, they're going to have found 100 ways to spend that monthly payment that you just talked to them about to solve their problem. And it's going to seem less important than it did after you really hit home with how serious this problem was. So set yourself up to win. Set up your time to complete the enrollment, establish a callback time, and reinforce the importance that they take that call. And the best way to set up that time, give them two options. Don't let them say, well, they'll call you back. No, you let them know. All right, it's 1 o'clock now. I'm completing this financial profile. I'm going to call you back at 2:30 or 3. Which works better for you? Remember, leading questions. Give them two options, both of which you'd be happy with. They're going to appreciate the fact that you're taking control of your business and you're structuring your day in a manner that is conducive for your productivity. Once again, if they can't do it at that time, they'll let you know. They say, well, I don't even get home till 5. Okay, well then let's talk about 5:30 or 6, which would be better for you. So make sure you're putting yourself in a position where they know you're serious about getting this enrollment complete, and also that they need to take your call when they get it. The next step is going to be your verification script, and at that point you're going to do a third-party recording, making sure that they're protected, that you're protected, the company's protected, that they understand their rights, they understand what's going to transpire as a byproduct of not paying their creditors. So that verification call, you do not want to misrepresent the product. You want to read it completely. It's very important. Our compliance department checks every single one of those recordings. Lastly is the contract via DocuSign or faxing them the physical contract to sign. You want to go over this with them. I would not recommend sending it to them and hoping it comes back. This is a very important process where you get on the phone and say, we're going to email this DocuSign over to them, and when they get it, you walk through it with them, explain to them what the terminology means. That way there's no second guessing their understanding of the program or lack thereof. And lastly, let's talk about how this particular flow is going to work. We talked about blueprinting. Blueprinting, they call in, and this is the stage one, finding out what makes them tick. What problems are they having with their debt? What do they need to do to get out of it? How much money can they afford to pay? Making sure that they are in the box and a good candidate. Next, you're going to give them a brief commercial and tell them about what we do. You're going to have worked the payment calculator and already determined what payment they can afford. So you're going to move on to your financial profile. After you've done your financial profile, you're going to submit your application and submission data sheet to processing. And at that point, you're going to be able to complete the enrollment via the enrollment verification recording and your DocuSign contract. So I hope this gives you some good insight as to how the conversation will flow. I can tell you this, and this is very important. Most of the successful enrollments I see are between a 15 and 20 minute call. Really, you should be able to find out what is going on in an individual's life, find out how much they can afford, tell them what we do, and get your financial profile within that time frame. If you're seeing your calls go 40, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, you're probably talking them to sleep. You're probably in a position where you are regurgitating so much information to them that now they are completely overwhelmed and they are ready to throw in the towel. They want to keep this short and sweet just as much as you do. They want to hear a solution. They want to know, what do you do? And let's get moving forward. Next, we're going to have our last module, which is compliance, to make sure you're not saying things that you're not supposed to say, and you stay right in the zone of being a credible representative for debt settlement.